I love Adam Conover. He's a funny guy. Oh, really? Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, I really liked Adam Ruins Everything. It's a fun. Whoa, Evan, I can see you on your stream
Getting
twice
there.
on your
Getting
you're
there.
showing up twice on the stream output. Yeah.
Uh,
I think it is. It says it says it's live.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Got some got Edward King and Matt Jacobs streaming in. Nice. It is. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, streaming is hard. Hmm. Yeah. Nice. That's too bad you can't hear Levi, Matt, because he's plugging you currently, plugging your Twitch channel. Everybody watch Matt's Twitch channel. If you have an Amazon Prime account. Yeah, hey, actually I did not know that you get a free Twitch account with Amazon Prime. I that that's awesome. I had no idea. Yeah. No, that's right. And then Brandon, Evan's still got Brandon set up there, and Sam's streaming. That sounds like Levi. So you mean the voice, or you mean just him plugging your Twitch channel? Saying, let's see. Uh, Evan, I see something else happening on the live stream. You've got like a corner. What is that? It's like a piece of the table in TTS, maybe. Yeah, free monthly sub with Prime. That's awesome. Nice. Oh, it is. Oh, yeah, it is. It's like a piece of your. Yeah, it's like it's a little mini game for all of our
Cameras.
watchers. Whose screen do you see this piece of? Brandon, you're still coming in clear. That's awesome.
Can everyone still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Evan asking who can hear whom.
I think I can hear everybody except for Evan.
Oh, my picture's in the bottom corner now on the stream.
Nice.
Can you guys hear me on the stream now?
Oh.
Yeah.
We can hear you just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matt, TK, anybody?
Can any of you guys hear me? If you're watching on YouTube?
Step 1 complete.
All our pictures are up on the stream.
Nice. There's Levi. Okay, they can hear you now.
Oh, okay,
Good.
cool. So like I was saying, Matt Jacobs runs this Twitch channel where he does horror games, and it's a let's play. You play along with him, watch him play. It's super fun. He does it several times a week on Twitch. So yeah, if you get that free Amazon Prime sub, throw it his way. Give him Bezos his money, and you help him keep that going. But yeah, he would know. I mean, when you talk about the trials and tribulations of streaming he does it multiple times a week, so it's crazy. Yeah, Jack, if we can just get Evan on here, we're good to go.
Yeah.
I still don't have Evan logged into Tabletop Simulator either.
Mm. Sam, are you playing on the West Coast as well?
Yeah.
Nice.
I wouldn't have made it following you guys last week or 2 weeks ago if it weren't for being on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little late on the East Coast.
Lightstream.
Yeah, Bezos bucks. That's the way to go.
No, I think that's why it's smart to publish it as its own video too for later, because I didn't watch it live last time with Brandon's game. I watched it later on YouTube.
Yeah.
Even if you are Pacific, you just don't have the time necessarily.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, we it's definitely a sacrifice. Like being on the West Coast is definitely difficult with the industry because just so many people and game designer on the East Coast.
There's a whole group of guys in North Carolina. They're all great group of designers out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got people out in Florida and up in the Northeast. Ton of board game friends in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. We have a pretty good group out here between Portland and Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good group. Whereabouts are you, Sam?
Southern Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Basically in Mexico.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about you, Brandon?
I'm in northern Idaho, up near the Canadian border.
Nice.
Brandon and I are neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm neighbors.
I'm near Salem, Oregon, so like right in the middle of the west part of Oregon.
Sweet. That's an
like
awesome
an
area.
Hour and a half south of Portland. So yeah, like Matt was saying there, Seattle, huge set. Spiel des Jahres nominee Randy Flynn up there in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Randy's a really good guy. That whole crew, like there's so many good designers up in Seattle. You got the guys who did Fantastic Factories, Tony, Kabuto Sumo.
Yeah. Sam Healy's now in the area over there too, right? I think.
Sam Healy? Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I think I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me.
Yeah.
9 months ago he was.
Yeah.
I just happened to watch the Quackalope interview with him today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I thought all those guys were in Florida. I thought the Dice Tower guys were in Florida.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I
Well, I know
think
Suze is out here.
No,
Suze is
he
a
moved
guy.
out west, and that's when he left Dice Tower.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah. There's a ton of great talent up in Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be over at the Playtest Northwest Evergreen Expo
Nice.
next weekend. Yeah, demoing a
That,
game, so that'll be
that's cool.
it'll be a lot of fun. The Lucy Award.
Sorry, I'm gonna miss it.
Yeah, I get to demo for another designer, so
Yeah.
it's been exciting.
By the way, Matt, it's a dry 750 degrees here.
It's
Dry 750. It's much more tolerable. Evan says start to teach, Levi. So
okay. Yeah,
maybe
I've got Evan
maybe
logged
for the
in.
benefit of folks on our stream, maybe a little background and just a little who are you, and then what are we
Yeah,
testing tonight, and yeah.
I am no one of consequence. I've been I've been involved in board game design, publishing, and developing for over a decade. Started a little company called Bonsai Entertainment, and we wanted to self-publish. We had designed a couple of games. We were going to self-publish them. Then I got involved with some other publishers and started working with them. Um, I I started working as a contract designer, where basically like I would take on a job on scope and design a game, sell it to that publisher. You know, they publish it, they do what they're going to do with it and publish it. Usually, it was vastly different from when I sold it to them because your name's not on it or anything. It's one of those for bigger publishers. They're not interested in putting your name on a box. Um, so I did a bunch of that work. Then I got together with the Seattle crew and met a lot of awesome people in Portland and Seattle. And eventually, well, actually, one of the first people I met in the industry was David McKenzie. David is a guy who was the first person to kickstart a board game. So the first board game that was kickstarted ever was Alien Frontiers, and
Nice.
David McKenzie was the publisher on that. And so when I met David, he taught me a ton of stuff about the industry. And eventually we became partners with Isaiah Vallejo, who designed, developed, and published, what's the name of that game, that city game? Uh, well, the thing he's really known for is the Valeria Card Kingdoms set. So the whole Valeria line is all Isaiah's baby. And so he and David really cultivated that. Matt Jacobs and I have worked as playtesters and like helped with a lot of development on those games. And when I was a partner with them, helped design their helped set up distribution channel and worked on lots of stuff like that with Daily Magic. I eventually published a game through them that I had designed called Horizons, which is probably the biggest game that I had. Um, and just have been working kind of in lots of different ways, with lots of different companies. Pretty much anybody that'll have me, I'll work with them and see if we can get some stuff designed or developed. And so I've done a lot of different roles, which is great. Uh, During the pandemic, I learned how to use Tabletop Simulator because couldn't go to conventions anymore, which was always a privilege to be able to go to conventions and
Yeah.
show designs to people. Um, I've been involved with the Lucy Awards. I've been involved with Playtest Northwest. Nicole is awesome. Her and David used to run that together, and then Nicole took it over, and she's just ran with it and made it even bigger and better than it ever was, which is fantastic. And so, yeah, I've been really lucky to have met some really cool people, like David and Matt and Isaiah and Randy, and just like tons of good people in the Pacific Northwest and all over the country, and all over the world. Honestly, I met people from literally all over the world in board games, and been able to work with them to do some good stuff. The game that I've got coming out soon is Dice Kingdoms of Valeria. It's a roll and write game.
Nice.
So that if you missed it on Kickstarter, you can actually still back it as a late backer. It was packaged with two other smaller games, one that Matt designed, another one that Glenn designed from Board Games and Bourbon, and they're all Valeria themed and different kinds of games. So yeah, so you're interested in those. This
Yeah.
one that we're talking about tonight, this one,
Mhm.
like I said, I'm just kind of calling it City Blocks for now because I don't want to spend a bunch of time theming something that a publisher may decide to change.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys can see this on the stream, um, but what
We
we're looking
can't.
at here
I don't know
is
that we. I don't know that we can see the stream.
I don't see it on my screen copy of the stream, but that doesn't mean it's not on the actual stream.
By the way, was Sunrise City the game you were thinking of?
Sunrise City, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Isaiah's first game was Sunrise City. Yeah. That one had a really cool scoring mechanism on Sunrise where you had to try and get exactly to 10 points, and if you did, you got like double points for it. It was really interesting. It was you're constantly cycling through your victory points. If you'd land by exactly 10, it was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think interesting win conditions like that are really powerful design elements.
Yeah, as I say, I don't think they can see the TTS stream. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah, just black screen.
So yeah, probably ought to wait till that's resolved to describe the game. But if you like interesting scoring conditions, that's good to hear because that's one of the hallmarks of the game we're going to play tonight.
Oh, nice!
It's got a really interesting scoring mechanism to it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know Sam or Brandon if you feel this way too, Levi, but I feel like I've seen a lot more debate about victory points recently, and just a lot more conversation around like, can we get some different objectives, some different goals, maybe more interesting goals. And I think that designers are actively, like yourself, are actively trying to think about that. Maybe more, it's trending in that direction, it seems like.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot. I'll wait for Sam and Brandon to chime in.
I'm pretty quiet, so I don't talk very much. But I haven't heard anything about different victory point win conditions, stuff like that. So I'm not too integrated though. So I don't hear much as it is. So I get all my information from Jack, starting tonight.
Gotcha.
I'm actually super inexperienced. I'm very new to the industry in general, so I'm not as familiar with the conversations as you are, Jack. But I know it's something that sounds intriguing to me, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's done in this game.
Yeah, I think it's hard to get away from victory points. It's you can call them other things, and you can kind of slide and hand it, but ultimately you're keeping track, and people have been keeping track of things with numbers for millennia. So it's like how do you get away from keeping track of things with numbers?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things too is, they're embedded in Euro games often, which generally have more historical themes of some kind,
Sure.
And that's kind of how history is written, right? You look back and you go, oh, interesting. That's actually how that, nation pulled ahead, or how that empire rose. It didn't seem like anything at the time, but over time, those victory points started to roll in, and that's what happened, right?
Victory point. It seems like victory points just work so well as a win condition. I think sometimes it's probably even more difficult to design a game that doesn't use victory points. I know in my experience, games that I've played that don't use victory points, I can only think of one off the top of my head, but I didn't care for the ending. I didn't like how the game ended and how the winner was decided, and it's a game that doesn't use victory points. So it's, I don't know, I guess it's a real fine line there. I'd like to play more games that don't use victory points, just so I can get a better reference between the two genres.
What, do you mind saying what game it was, Brandon? Or
it was New York Zoo.
Oh.
I really wanted to like it. The whole game was fun, and it was a cute, fun family game. But the winner is whoever completes their zoo first. And I
Yeah.
I understand, but
Yep.
mess up at the very beginning, and you basically lose the game. So I don't know, stuff
Yeah.
like that. I have a hard time with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even in that game though, like as you're racing to finish your zoo, like you're still using points to determine order and things like
Yes.
that. So it's like, I mean, I think you can really kind of start splitting hairs into that, and I don't know if you
Yeah.
can really get away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But you definitely won't be doing that tonight. There's a lot of points to be counted here. But I
Nice.
try to make the way that you're counting the points unique. Matt and I have been playtesting a game recently that I'm designing that's a push your luck card game. And in that game, you're actually spending your victory points during the game to try and give you an advantage in the next round of the game,
Mhm.
right? So if you're going to have victory, I think if you're going to have victory points as a win condition, there needs to be something more exciting than just adding them up.
Mm.
It's kind
Yeah.
of, I think that's what people are tired of. It's
Yeah.
just kind of like, oh, I did some stuff and I added points, and that's the end of the game.
Yeah.
They want
Yeah,
something where it's a little more dynamic, a little more engaging than just do your thing, add up the points.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a funny funny talk about victory points from Shut Up and Sit Down. I think it was maybe last year. But
Yeah.
he was like, this is how an average game goes. There's like or he was talking about novels, right? There's like rising action, then climax, and then falling action. He's like, here's what happens in board games. There's like rising action, end game, accounting, right? And
Right. Yeah.
that's where you lose all of the fun.
And that's definitely like kind of a problem with victory points is you might have what could have been an explosive moment in the game that you don't actually realize until the end where you were counting everything up slowly.
Hey, there it is.
Kind of disappointing.
Yeah, Sam, and you know
It's
what? I'm
there.
about to disappoint all of you because this game ends with a lot of accounting. So,
Nice.
this game, even though it has an unusual scoring mechanism, you don't count points until the end of the game, which has
Nice.
been a thing I've been working on trying to get around. But thus far, that's how it works.
Well, it's a normal expectation. I mean, it's kind of a expectation. I like what Matt said in the chat too, how designers have to think about those things these days. Ultimately, experience that the player has is on us. And that's a really good note for playtesting just in general. It's like, what kind of experience are we having? Hopefully something that we can, help you with tonight, Levi, thinking about what that player experience is like.
Yes. I mean, because that's, the math can be tight and it can work, but ultimately we're not making a math equation here. We're trying to make something that's fun for people to play.
Yeah.
And Matt is great at, having playtested lots of his games and him playtesting a lot of my games. I can tell you he's a really good gauge on where the fun is in a game, which is great.
Yeah.
Great to have.
Awesome.
Okay, so you're looking at the board now. So what we're doing is we are collectively designing a city. So each of us has a board full of buildings of different types, and we're going to take it in turns to place those buildings from our board into the city to actually, add them to this basically empty city that we're looking at now.
Okay.
How do you win? You're going to choose your buildings at optimal times and place those blocks in optimal places to maximize your end game scoring. And I'll explain how all that works, but that's the high concept of how you're going to win this game. Each turn, we each have a pawn, and the pawn that is furthest back on the track will be the player who goes. So there's not a regular play order. We don't play to the left or whatnot. We play whoever's in last place is going to move next. So you may end up going more than once at a time. Not likely, but it's possible that you could end up taking more than one turn. I don't know if you guys have played a game like Patchwork, or I think, So if you've played Patchwork, you're familiar with that mechanism. Yeah, it has been a minute since we played this, Matt. And then you're going to place the leftmost block of the type of the space you stopped on. So if you look at the track, there are a bunch of little symbols that match the symbols along the left-hand side of your player board. Okay. So let's say I'm playing teal here, Jack's piece,
Sure.
and I place my marker on this apartment building, right? So when I drop my marker on this apartment building, so now Jack would get to place his
Apartment building.
leftmost apartment. Yeah, you take his leftmost apartment and place it somewhere on the board. So it has to be orthogonally adjacent when you place it. Let me double check that that's correct. No, it can be. It can be diagonally adjacent also. So you can place
Okay.
your block adjacent to any other block on the board already, or next to City Hall.
Starting with City Hall. Okay.
Yeah, starting with City Hall.
And then
So,
also free play off of City Hall at any time.
Yeah. Anybody can play off of City Hall, even if if someone has it here and this is open, you can use that also. You can drop one there. So whichever one, so you can go, Jack can go as far as they want along this track. They don't have to stop at this first one. They can go as far as they want down the track, but you can never go backward. You can never go back to the left. So anything you pass up, you've passed up for good. The game will end when all players have returned to the starting corner of the track. We've all lapped the track one time. That's the end of the game. Hey, Evan, good to see your face. Once we've all lapped the track one time, that'll be the end of the game. And then, or if all players, or I'm sorry, any player must pass because they don't have a legal action they can take. What's a legal action? You can't stop your pawn on a building that you don't have on your board. So if you've placed all your apartments, you can't stop on a space that has an apartment on it. So if you got to the end here and the only open space available to you on the last leg was an apartment, you would have to pass, and that would end the game for all players. That's the very basics of the game. Does anybody have questions so far?
So it's the mechanic of moving around the board. It's going to be very similar to like a Takedo or Namiji, right? Where you are moving your thing. You're moving your pawn across the board, doing the thing, but the person in the back gets to go before everybody else, and you just sort of kind of leapfrog along.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Takedo, Namiji, Patchwork, they all use that.
Yeah.
Whatever player's in last place moves first.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we'll use that mechanism to determine player order, and you will just be moving around like that. So there are also city founders. I'm going to shuffle these 25 cards and reveal some of them. So these are ways, these three cards allow you to score some points instantly along the way.
So this might be one of the reasons, I might jump to a, say, retail space is so that I can get this card then.
Yes.
Okay.
So would you acquire this card, and then at the end of the game, however many buildings you've placed of that type, you would score extra points that way? Is that how these would work?
So these are instant points. Anytime you score these, you automatically get to score that building type. And that will make more sense when we go over the way that the buildings are scored.
Okay. What about so while we're talking about sequence of play and movement, I noticed that some of these buildings have two spots. Does that mean that they can be occupied by two pawns at the same time? Two people can build that type of building.
If you look up here at the very top left corner where the start is, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 4 is shaded. And you'll notice that second space is also shaded. That means that's only available in a 4-player game.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But a 4-player game, there's two of those spaces available.
Mm-hmm. So
Same thing
it can be occupied simultaneously.
yeah, it can.
Okay.
Same thing in the corners. In the corners, you've got a founder's card and a 2 victory point space.
Mm.
So same thing there. That 2 victory point space is only available in the 4-player game.
Mm. And so you can collect founder cards that way.
You can.
To save them for later.
No, you're going to score them as you take them.
Oh, okay. So you can essentially score that card without building a building if you land on that space.
Unfortunately, the way the scoring works, you can't score that without a building. Unlocking the buildings also unlocks the scoring for that building type.
Mm.
So so let's look at a player's board. So if you
let's talk scoring.
if you hold down Evan, if you can hold down the Alt key while you're hovering over your board, over your scoreboard.
Uh-huh.
Then that would show the audience the scoreboard. I can see Sam hold his up. Kind of waiting for it to show up in the YouTube channel.
Mm. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But yeah, if you guys hold the Alt key down while you're looking at your scoreboard, it'll show you the board without all the pieces on it, which is kind of a cool feature of TTS. Mm-hmm. You won't hear me say good things about TTS a lot, but this is one of them. So if you do that, you'll see the way that the apartments score. All apartments are -1 victory point if they are adjacent to an industrial building. So that little 8-pointed star.
That means adjacent.
That means adjacent, because that means it's adjacent in any of the 8 directions.
Mm.
So if an apartment is adjacent to an industrial building, which is the 3rd building type down, then you get -1 victory point for that apartment. After you place your first apartment, now at the end of the game, all apartments will score for being adjacent to retail, 1 victory point each. And then when you place your second apartment, all apartments will score 1 victory point per park they're adjacent to. And then that continues on. The more apartments you put in play, the more victory points being adjacent to a park is worth. So if by the end of the game, you've got you're going to go and look at each apartment that you placed and score all the scoring that you've uncovered for apartments based on how many apartments you put in play. So the more apartments you put in play, the more victory points each apartment you played is going to be worth at the end of the game. So, and the more different ways it can score.
So let's say that all apartments are on the board. You would score 3 points for each apartment next to parks. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Each apartment that's next to a park would earn you 3 points. Each park next to a retail building would earn you 1 point.
Okay. What is a park? Is a park just a blank space?
Yeah. So parks, that's a good question. So the little tree logo park, you'll see that there are 2 little green squares next to that. So if you stop your pawn on a park space, you get to place one of these park tiles on the board.
Okay, and parks are
just like
that they have to be adjacent to existing
parks.
Structures.
Yeah, like every other thing that you place has to be adjacent to existing structures.
Okay.
Parks on their own are not worth any victory points. They're only worth points when they're adjacent to other things. And there's 6 of them total available during the game, which is the most you could ever place.
Okay, great.
So if we're looking at, all the buildings score this way. Banks score for being near offices and apartments, eventually. Industrial buildings score points for being at the edge of the city. So industrial buildings don't want to be in the middle of town. You want industrial buildings out in the outskirts of town. Offices are unique in that the office buildings can stack on top of each other. Each other building takes up one square. Whatever square you place it in, that's the square it takes up. Offices, when you place an office on a square, I'm just going to grab one of Sam's, you could place a second office on top of that first office if you got the TTS skills. And they actually score bonus points for having the tallest office in the game.
Gotcha.
So you get points.
Can you stack on other people's office buildings, or
You cannot.
Okay.
You can only stack on your own offices. Good question. Yeah, you can only stack on your own offices.
Can't lease space from Bank of America.
Now, the bank scoring with that, does that score based off of the squares the offices occupy, or does that score off of the entire stack?
Good question. It scores off the pieces of wood. Yeah. So each office, will score on that bank. So if you had 4 offices stacked up next to the bank, then that bank would score 4 as if there were 4 offices next to it. So if you had 2 banks in play, then you would score 2 victory points for each office piece you have in play in that stack.
Is there ever a reason that you wouldn't just stack all of them on top of each other?
There are reasons, because there are some buildings that, you may want to place them near other buildings that you have. So, like, if I can get 2 banks scoring on offices, that's better than just having 1 bank scoring off of 4 offices.
Gotcha.
Plus, you've got other buildings like retail buildings that score on offices, and transportation buildings also score on offices. So you may want to spread your offices around to score on those other buildings. But whoever has the tallest office at the end of the game does get 3 extra victory points.
Nice.
So, and ties are friendly. So if 2 players both have a 3 tall office, then they would each score 3 victory points.
Okay.
Retail scores initially on apartments, then also on banks, and then also on offices. So retail scores on the most different types of buildings. But it's also, like apartments, -1 if it's adjacent to an industrial building. Nobody wants their retail next to industrial buildings. And then the last type of building is transportation. And if you put 2 transportations next to each other, no matter who owns them, both of them are worth 0 victory points. So if Evan builds a transportation and Brandon builds one right next to his, they're both worth 0. And then the first transportation you built is worth a victory point for every industrial and retail adjacent. And then the second one you build means that you get a victory point for any type of building next to your transportation. So because we're all uncovering different buildings and placing different buildings, what Sam's going to be able to score and what Evan are going to be able to score at the end of the game are going to be very different.
Makes sense. Yeah, interesting.
Also, there are 2 city ordinance cards. These are placed at the beginning of the game. You randomly choose 2 city ordinances, and these will set rules for the game that are unique to this particular play. We can leave these out for this first play if you guys want, but I just wanted to show you how they work. So in this case, if we were using these 2, the transportation density card allows you to ignore the transportation penalty. So if you had 2 transports next to each other, they would not automatically be worth 0 for this particular playthrough. And then the penthouses card lets you build apartments on top of a stack of offices. So it lets you build a penthouse at the top of an office. Now you couldn't then go and put another office on top later. It would basically cap that stack of offices with an apartment. But it opens up a new way that apartments can be built.
Yeah.
Place can be played. So like I said, we don't have to use these the first game, but this is definitely a way that you can improve replayability, where these cards are changing the rules for the whole game. So like this multi-use zoning, this would let you, whenever you stop on an apartment space or an office, then you could build either one of those buildings. So
Nice.
basically turn all the apartment spaces into both apartment and office, and all the office spaces into both apartment and office.
Interesting. Okay, how many of these are there? There are
There are
six.
six of them, and you reveal 2 every game.
Oh, okay.
And you randomly reveal 2 every game. So one game, you might have this. So this is Tree City. For any building adjacent to parks, you instantly score 1 victory point. And then your retail buildings gain replaceable. Replaceable is a thing that your industrial buildings have. I forgot to mention. Glad that came up. So industrial buildings are replaceable, which means if you land on the industrial building space and you place the industrial building early in the game, they want to be out on the end, right? They want to be out on the edges. So later in the game, you could, but you have to place your buildings adjacent to what's in play. So later in the game, after the city has filled out more, you could land on industrial again, and then move an industrial to a legal space from where it is now.
Instead of playing one off of your...
Instead of playing a new one. Yeah, instead of placing a new industry tile, you can move one to an open space. And that's what the replaceable means. This makes retail buildings also work that way for that particular game.
Okay.
So, like I said, probably not use them the first time you play, but when you play the game a few times, you get a handle on it. You're going to want to do that. So the same thing, the way these City Founders cards work, the way you get them is by either landing on the park space. So if I land on the park space, if I choose the park space, not only do I get to place a city park in the city, I also get to take one of these cards. And let's say I took the banker card. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I take that banker card, I can score my banks, whatever my banks currently are. So let's say Brandon already had 2 banks in play. He would be able to go through and score all of his banks right now. And they would score 2 victory points for every office they were adjacent to.
I see. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, so it's like a mid-game scoring opportunity.
Mid-game scoring. Mm-hmm. If you could just take 2 victory points, right? Since we're playing 4-player. Anytime a player crosses this line, so as soon as you move your pawn beyond this line, what do you think happens there?
You take a card.
You get a black. Yep, you get one of these City Founders cards. Okay. So you're going to be everybody, whether you stop here or not, you're going to be mid-game scoring.
Right.
3
okay.
times.
Oh, okay, good. So you can choose which of these spots to land on?
You can. Yep.
Okay.
If it's empty, you can take any open spot to the right or further on down the line from where your pawn is now.
Gotcha.
You just can never go backward.
And you, I assume, cannot stop at a space that somebody else is on.
Correct.
Right,
yep, you can't take an occupied space.
Yeah, so I'm here. Nobody else can place industrial.
Yeah, they will have to move past you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions off the top here? Let's see what does chat have to say.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like the game is frozen again.
Evan just sent in the chat, Levi, I might just have you screen share and I'll blow yours up.
Okay, let's see if I can do that.
Do you see share screen at the bottom of your
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So I see these political campaign cards. Are these something we're using in this game?
So the political campaign cards are also some extra ways to score in the mid game. So these, yeah. So we would reveal one of these at a time, these political campaigns, and then as soon as somebody scored this, we'd replace it with another one. So let's say we can use these if you want. These aren't too complicated. This is the first time somebody places two retails next to each other, they would score 3 victory points immediately. But this would get revealed at the beginning of the game, so everybody could see that. And
Okay,
then
and
as
then
soon as
you
that
just
was accomplished,
take them, replace them.
yeah, as soon as that's accomplished, you reveal the next one.
Makes sense.
So it's largely, these are things like in the moment that the people are asking for. So like I said, there's a lot of in-game scoring, but there's also several opportunities to score mid-game. So I'll leave it up to
Awesome.
you.
Anything?
You feel comfortable using the political campaigns? And all of these things are optional. Is the thing. You can play without any of the cards. The cards just improve replayability. We could play tonight without any of the cards. You don't need any of them to play the game.
What would be most helpful for you for playtesting, you think, Levi?
Oh, I mean, I would be okay. I would be okay playing it even in its most basic form, since you guys are all new to the game. I think even that would be helpful.
I'm okay with whatever you decide, honestly. I don't have a preference either way.
Yeah, I mean the the city ordinance cards I think would add a wrinkle when like looking at the rules, but the political campaigns and the city founder cards, that just sounds like more points.
Okay.
I was
all
most,
around.
I was most attracted to the political campaign cards. They seem, at least initially, they seem to be the easiest to follow.
They're definitely the most straightforward. Yeah.
The city.
Let's just use those.
Yeah, playing without the city ordinance cards will help us to grok the primary gameplay and
Agreed.
Core mechanism, all that kind of stuff a little bit.
I have to say, this is I've been playtesting this game with my friends, David and Matt primarily, and Isaias also a little bit. I've been playtesting this game on TTS for a while. We've got several dozen plays in of it, so it's one of those things where I don't want you to feel like this is a thing that's just never been. Hey, here's the thing I came up with yesterday, and let's throw it up here and see how it goes. It's definitely had some refinement to it, but I think it can definitely use a fresh pair of eyes, and so that's why I wanted to show it to you all.
Sure, yeah, and I think one of Evan's primary goals with this stream too is just to kind of like introduce, to help designers sort of see like what the playtesting process looks like. So that's just a suggestion from me, is maybe anything that disrupts from the core gameplay with new players, like that might just help us kind of address the core loop stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think the best way to go is to just stick with the political campaigns for now.
So how do we choose turn order?
So we're going to randomly determine the turn order.
Is looking at the stream output, it looks like it's sharing your camera now, or like your camera got big.
Yeah, he said that Evan sent a message and said that, Levi, you're big. Try to share your screen now.
Oh, I thought I already had shared my screen.
Somehow Levi ended up big on the stream.
Okay, well, let's see.
We're learning. We're all learning.
It says I'm sharing my screen.
I see it in Lightstream.
Oh, but it's not sharing it on the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
it looks like Evan's trying to work around.
So Levi, real quick, these rivers and looks like these roads on the game board, are these just thematic or are for aesthetic? I mean, or do they serve a purpose in the game as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. They are aesthetic in the base game, but there are political campaign cards, city ordinance cards that call for building along roads or rivers or in certain
Okay.
quadrants of the city. So yeah, in the base game they're just aesthetic, but as you add more complexity to the game, they become something that affects the game.
Cool.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Well, that's weird. I'm not sure because, like I said, on my screen it's saying that I'm sharing my window. I can hit stop sharing, but I don't know if that's going to help anything. Let's see. I could go sharing entire screen. No. Chrome tab. No. Yeah, I'm sharing Tabletop Simulator. Is that still not working? Doesn't look like it.
Well, there's two. I see two. There's two feeds of you, Levi. There's one with your face and one with your screen. So I think Evan needs to enlarge the one of your screen and not the one of your person. If he can, I don't know. I don't know the limitations of the software.
Matt wants everybody to know that the main screen is Levi's beautiful face.
I mean, can't all be as handsome as I am.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Not all of us were
Evan,
as
quick,
blessed.
change it. It's too much handsomeness. You're overwhelming our viewers.
I don't know. Sam's messing up our beard ratio. We've only got.
Yeah, we need more of Sam.
I do that.
Can you zoom in on him?
I mean, if the internet needs anything, it's more white guys with beards. Am I right?
Oh, right.
I'm doing my part the best I can.
That's right.
Yeah. Brandon fills the quota for like 3 people.
Yeah. At least.
At least.
I just barely chopped like 4 inches off of this puppy too.
Really?
Wow.
Hey, send that over here, and I'll wear it as a toupee.
Yeah.
This just got weird.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough hair for both Sam's face and my head.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah, me neither.
I want to say we should just start playing, but if the people can't see the board, then
wait a minute, something's happening. Yeah, because we're almost an hour into this at this point. Oh,
here we go.
Thanks, Bob. That's great.
There we go. Now the table is large.
Okay, now you guys can all see the table. Let's see. Can you? Let's see if chat got to see this. Behind that. So those are our scoring boards for chat. Hopefully you can see that. And then this is the game board.
Are we seeing Evan's TTS?
Are we looking at Evans now?
Does appear to be so.
I don't know.
Yeah, the camera angle is different, and when you're zooming in on objects, it's not coming up.
Ah, okay. Well, all right. If you guys want to roll the die to set player order, and you're gonna, whoever rolls highest will be the first player. So you go on the 1 spot on down to 4.
Okay.
And I'm just doing this as a way to randomly determine first player.
5 for Sam. I got a 4. Brandon, what did you roll?
I should be 3. I rolled a 3.
Okay. And the Evan needs to roll. 6. Evan.
Oh, I should be
Yep.
4. Oh,
Oh, whoops. I know
Oh,
better than
Tabletop Simulator.
I know better than to touch the pieces. Just,
Don't make me go first. You made you go first. Rolled a 6.
yeah. Evan, you have to. Also, type out your details of your turn in the chat.
The good news is all he has to do is move his pawn to where he wants to go.
Yeah. True. That's true.
where's the pink pawn? Oh, right here.
Yeah, it's red.
That is
Where's
weird
the-
on the.
Where's the green pawn? Oh, over here. Green is
Yeah.
green third
That's-
place.
I rolled a 4, so
Okay.
I think I'm third
So the game is active, but it's frozen for the player, for them.
on the
the
stream.
viewers
Yeah,
on the stream.
they're not seeing it.
Okay, so Evan did right. He moved his piece to this apartment, and then he placed an apartment adjacent to the city hall. So now, Sam, you can choose any piece you would like. Industrial is a good choice because they're replaceable, right? So you can place that industrial adjacent to anything, including the city hall or the building that that Evan just built.
Hey, you know what? Let's go up here.
Okay.
So that immediately,
interesting.
so in the short term, that makes Evan's apartment now worth -1 victory point
Yeah.
because it's adjacent to an industrial building. Does that make sense?
Yes. Very interesting. Okay. Let's see.
But that industrial building is also worth 0 points right now because it's not at the edge of the board.
Yeah, and then office buildings can kind of be anywhere, so I think I might just place an office building.
Okay.
Does it matter? Does it matter? I want to.
Well, you've also got this political campaign. If you can manage to get 2 office buildings adjacent to each other, that'll be 3 victory points immediately.
Oh, that is kind of nice. Maybe I'll just
So is that
plop
2
it over here.
offices, 2 of your own offices or any 2 offices?
Any 2. Good question.
Okay.
Any 2.
I'll just give myself the most opportunity I can.
So I'll just do like the old time radio play by play.
Yeah, it looks like
So
it's like a
Brandon-
chess commentator.
Yeah, so Brandon's looking to place a bank near the city hall and next to one of Jack's offices.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, office
So
in
now-
E3,
now that
bank
all
to
four-
E4.
So now that all 4 of you have gone, instead of going in the 1, 2, 3, 4 order, now it's Sam's turn. But Sam's furthest back.
Sam. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So Sam could pick that bank.
So you go
So
by
I can-
furthest along furthest back on the movement track, not the victory track.
Correct,
Yeah.
on the
Okay.
movement track. Yeah.
Okay, that's something I
Yeah.
got wrong.
Right now, everybody, these little discs are for scoring your victory points.
Sure.
Right now, everybody's on 0, basically.
0. Yeah. Okay. Okay, looks like Evan is up.
Right. You're blue, Evan. You picked up the green one. There
Grab
you
the
go.
teal. Yeah. Are those colors too close?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not to me. Ooh, Evan's
Ooh,
jumping track.
big moves going for the next apartment.
Wow.
So now, because you crossed, well, we're not using the City Founders cards. Because you crossed that, you would, if we were using these, you'd get a City Founders card.
Okay.
So now it's going to be a while before Evan goes again. But having
Yeah.
2 apartments adjacent to each other doesn't earn him a lot of points unless he can get some retail or some parks near those.
Yeah, interesting.
So Jack, you're up.
Okay. Well, let's see. I think I'm gonna place a industrial.
Industrial, yeah.
Yeah. Just throw that on the
So
outskirts
you
of town over
put it
here.
adjacent to
Oh,
Sam's.
You could put it up over
Yeah,
there.
so you put it out there or over here. Either one of Sam's buildings, you'd be on the edge already.
yeah. I'll put it outside this other industrial, so Sam has to move that.
Well, it's not everything points to Sam right now because it's not on the edge. So Brandon's going for the
Right.
first retail building.
Okay.
And initially, retail scores for being next to apartments.
Mm.
But then later on, it also scores for being next to banks and offices. So that's a good spot for it right now because there's 2 apartments adjacent to it. And now we're back to Sam because Evan jumped way ahead.
Mm. Okay, and Sam has a chance to place transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And that you want it near industrial and retail to start with. Then if you get your second one out there, it's going to score for every building it's adjacent to. Unless somebody else places a transportation next to you, making
So
both
Sam,
0.
Sam, I wonder if this transportation. Okay, you may have a plan, so I'm just thinking out loud. If I were placing this transportation, I would have placed it right there. Yep, because it's next to this industrial and also next to this retail. But like I said, you may have a plan. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here.
Yeah. Trying to set up late game with it, so
Perfect.
I'll see whether or not it works.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna place a park, and we're not playing with
Well,
founder cards.
Yeah,
Is
so
that
if we're
right,
not
Levi?
using the founders, you can go either here or here because it's a 4-player game. If you
Yeah.
take the second one, you would get 2 victory points.
I might as well take the
Either
2
way, you're going to
victory
get to place
points.
a park. Yeah, you might as well take the 2 VPs.
Yeah.
And now you
and
get to
then
place a park.
now, what's the benefit of a park?
Apartments score if they're adjacent to parks.
Yeah, but I don't.
You want to put it near where
have
you
any.
build apartments.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, maybe what I'll do then is I can just build this anywhere, yeah?
Anywhere, it's got to be adjacent to something that's already in play. But yes.
Just build it over here.
Yeah. Brandon?
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
No worries. Just want to make sure you knew it was your turn.
This
Yeah, thank you.
just a first impression by me.
Yeah.
This game moves a lot faster than I expected on first glance.
Yeah. You can play this game. You can play this game in about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
When you really know how to play, even with the expansion stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It plays
that's
easily in under an hour with 4 players.
I think I can hear Evan.
Can you?
Hey,
Yes.
we hear you.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Nice.
No, we're not
The
kidding.
mute
you. We can
icon's
hear
on
you.
right now.
That's ridiculous.
Why would we kid you?
That's ridiculous that you can all of a sudden hear me. I have no idea what's going on with this program.
It's okay, man.
I'm going to use a totally
All right.
different program next time. I'm so sorry for for this, guys.
I feel bad for Matt and Bob and all
I know, right?
the audience that did show up.
Matt's becoming a pumpkin. Good night, Matt. We'll
It's
miss
late
you.
for Matt. It's late night for Matt.
Okay, so Evan, we can now see and
Good night,
hear you.
Matthew. Thank you.
But we cannot see. We cannot see the game.
Yeah. Hard to watch a stream of a game when you can't watch the game. I get it.
Trevor apparently just jumped on. No audio
I will not.
issues.
Oh, Trevor. Is it Trevor? Trevor Olson. Hey, Trevor.
Yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
there we go.
Nice. Evan, try
And
saying
Bob
something.
can hear too.
We can't hear Evan.
And now we can't hear Evan again. We had him for a second. Then we lost him.
Do you guys
No,
see
it's
the
not
muted
over.
mic icon on them like I do?
I don't.
I don't either.
I do. Yeah, I see a little orange volume icon on Evan's screen. And now his
Oh,
mic's muted.
now I see it.
Now I see it. Yeah.
The good news is, though, it looks like you can see things moving around on the game screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's probably right. OBS and Zoom might be a better option.
And Evan's gone again. Dang.
Looks like it's your
We
go,
had
Jack.
him for a moment. Oh, okay. All right. So let's see. I am retail space.
But yeah, your next open spot is a retail space.
Retail would score next to.
Shouldn't Brandon have scored this political campaign?
Did he score? Did he place a second? Yeah, he sure did.
Oh,
But Brandon, as soon as you place that office next to that other office, you get 3. You score 3 points.
thank you, Sam.
Wasn't even looking at that.
Oh, I thought they had to be same player. Like you had to place. Oh, okay.
Any player. Somebody else asked to clarify that earlier.
Okay. Okay.
Now we're looking at retail. 2 retail next to each other is worth 3.
So, Jack, you could potentially, if you chose to take that space, you could potentially get those 3 points.
Yeah,
if you wanted them.
And they score when they're next to apartments.
So that could actually work out for you in 2 ways.
Yeah, here we go. Boom. I'll do that. And I'll place on retail. I'll place right there. I'll take this card. Do I take the card?
You scored a point.
Oh, okay. I'll just score 3 points.
Is that actually 2 retails next to each other?
Yeah, this isn't
that's a retail next to 2 banks.
Oh, that's big. I think maybe.
Okay, never mind. I won't score the points, but I will place
it right here.
I think I do want to place it here though, for the scoring for the actual retail.
Yeah.
I'll sacrifice the 3 points.
Give it to somebody else. Somebody else can have those 3 points.
Interesting. That is right where I was going to go.
Sorry.
Oh, no, all good. Nice placement.
You guys who are on YouTube, can you see the screen now? The board game?
Well, I'll go ahead and go for this.
Sam's placing retail.
Brave souls that have stuck through this with us, Bob and Trevor.
Looks like Evans. Next up.
It's been a while since Evan's gone, so.
And that scores me the 3.
So does this get shuffled back? Oh, we just draw it.
We just draw the next one and lay it on top.
Nice.
So now it's an industrial next to a retail. And
so what if that's already been? If that's already been fulfilled?
If that's already true. It's not. It doesn't score. It's only when you. If this is out, when you make that placement.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. How about I place a transportation? Right there.
So this should have been flipped over before Evan placed his industrial here. And he didn't place an industrial next to a retail.
Oh, okay. All right. So then Evan would get 3 more points. And then the next one is apartment and office adjacent to each other.
Gotcha.
The only thing about playing with these things is you really got to keep an eye on them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So let's give Evan his.
Trevor's saying it's weird because he can hear Evan.
Oh, wow.
No, he's just kidding. Evan's like, whoa.
All right. So.
Okay.
So I believe it's Sam's turn now.
Yep.
Placing an apartment.
So if he places it next to an office, he'll earn him 3 points right now. And he does.
Nice.
Now it's apartment next to retail.
Okay. Ooh, Brandon stacking. Going for the stack.
Nice.
Whew, I'm glad I nailed that.
Yeah. Oof. Looks good. Solid stack. Okay.
Nice.
Next to.
I can zoom in and take
So
my
now
time.
I have a cool opportunity here. I'm just gonna take that, place my second transportation,
Mhm.
and then it will score next to anything it's next to.
So all of your transportations at the end of the game will score against one for every building they're next to.
Unless someone else plays a transportation next to it,
Unless someone puts a transportation next to it. Yeah.
I'm 100% going to do that to you, Jack.
Yeah, I know. I can feel the mistake that I've made already.
No, I would never do
I'm
that.
just gonna block. Oh, I guess I could do that to Sam if I want.
I mean, it would mean both you and Sam would score nothing for those two buildings.
Yeah.
I can see that being useful if you're in the lead and there's someone maybe close to you that's going to play that transportation or whatnot, and you can block them from getting any points. I can see that being useful in some capacity.
I'm gonna
It's
do
hard to tell
that.
who's in the lead is the trick, right?
Yeah, very.
Which is another thing when we were talking earlier about victory points. Using victory points to determine the winner, when there's a foregone conclusion, a third of halfway through the game, is terrible.
Yeah.
So if you can obfuscate the end game points, I think that also goes toward what we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Is another way to kind of make victory points more palatable. Is that at least those victory points weren't obvious 2/3 of the way through the game, and you're just kind of going through the motions to finish the game, which you already know who's going to win.
Evan, your turn.
Another apartment for Evan.
That's been Evan's mission from the beginning, getting all his apartments out there.
Yep. Maybe not a bad strategy.
But remember, Evan, you want to put them next to parts so they can score more points. I'm kind of a thing Evan could have done, and I know Evan's kind of distracted right now because he's got a lot going on. Something he could have done because he was back here. He could have stopped here, taken 2 victory points and placed a park, and then gone again.
Yeah.
And placed his apartment next to the park that he placed it.
Because he was in the back.
So like he could have, because he was in the back, he could have stopped here, taken 2 victory points, placed a park, say here next to the apartment he already has, to make that one worth more points. Then go here and place his apartment either next to this park or this park, like he did. So let's just say he did that because I know he's distracted. You're welcome, Evan.
Well,
but that's the beauty of that, like play from behind, is that if people get too far ahead, it gives you multiple actions you can combo together. Evan, I do that! Exclamation point. That's great.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. He was testing me, see how well I knew my own game.
Sam with the bank.
Good choice next to Brandon's office.
Trying to get some of these crazy bank points that Brandon's
Yeah.
trying to get right now. Loaded up on all 6 bank points.
Nice. Let's see. Well, what do banks even score at?
They don't score for anything. You don't get points for placing banks.
They score on offices and then apartments.
And
If you
then
get all
apartments. Yeah.
three. Banks want to be where the people are. They wanna
Placing banks is not. It's not a good strategy, Jack. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. Let's see. What do we got? We got a apartment and retail thing going on here. Yeah. Plus, I think that's a good move anyway. Plus, that's next to a bank, so I'm gonna place my. Yeah, I'm gonna do my retail thing. Place that. I'll take this. 3 points.
3 points instantly. And now it's office next to retail. Brandon's up. Oh, I heard a bunch of static there.
Sorry,
that's almost like a beat.
I think that was probably me muting my microphone.
Oh. Yeah, this bank is choice here, Brandon, next to the.
I think that one's gonna score well.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sam's
I think you're up. Yeah.
Yeah. Might as well get this last transport opportunity.
You know what, guys? I know that this has been just an error-free evening so far, but I was looking at the rules while you guys were playing. These City Founders cards, they're not instant scoring like these others are. These City Founders cards, you do collect them. So when you take one, you can then discard it to place that building type.
Oh, okay.
No matter where you land.
Interesting.
That's how those work.
Okay.
I was just looking at my rules again. It's been a minute since I played this game, and I was looking at my rules again and like, oh, that's actually not how that works at all. Yeah, you take these, and then what that does is it lets you, even if there's not a retail space open, you could choose retail instead of the building you stop on, and then you would discard that.
Brandon with the 3-stack office.
Bro, my banks are gonna score so much.
Yeah.
Captain of industry, Brandon Ohmie. Excellent.
Each bank is getting
Evan.
2 points. He's getting 6 points for those.
Man, we can't see the game on the stream again, but Evan is up.
Sorry for those of you who came to watch.
So, Levi, am I correct in thinking about the scoring here? So each one of these banks are going to score 3 points, right? Because of these 3.
They're going to score 6 points because he has all his banks unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
So each bank, the first bank that you unlock is worth 1 per. The second one is +1.
Okay.
So now each of those banks scores 2 per office adjacent to it, and 1 per apartment adjacent to it. So he's going to get this bank is going to score 2, 4, 6, 7.
Okay,
8,
so
9.
should it be
6, 7, 8, 9.
It looks like if all the banks are unlocked, it'll be 3 points per. Oh no, because I see, because the other one's an office building. I got you.
Yeah, it's 2 office and an apartment.
Okay, I'm tracking.
Yeah. So that's why if we look at this, if we look at Brandon's here, this is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 9.
And then plus 12
this
here, right? and then 12 for these two banks.
And then this bank's going to go 2, 4, 6, 8. And this bank's going to go 2, 4, 6, 7.
7.
Okay.
Yep. Big bank bonus, triple B.
I like it.
It's a quadruple B.
That's the new name
Big
of this
bank
game.
bonus, Brandon. That's your nickname now.
Hey, I accept that.
I think you're up, Jack.
Okay. I am going to not place a park because I don't see the point.
Since you have no apartments, yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, that begs the question. Should I get in the apartment game now? Is it too late?
Well,
Maybe it's
here's
too
the thing,
late.
right? You could place a park and 2 victory points.
I know.
And then it would
it's
be up to
kinda-
Sam. Do you think Sam's going to take that apartment space? Or do you think Sam's going to skip it?
I
And then that would
don't
leave it open for
know
you.
what Sam is going to do. But, if he
That makes
does,
2 of us, Jack.
if he does, that's okay. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
We're all
So I'm
winging.
gonna move up to 7. I will place a park.
Okay.
Where am I gonna place my park? Why not?
Ideally, place it next to where you're going to place your apartment if you get one.
Yeah, that's what I was
And
thinking.
not next to anybody else's park.
Not next to
or,
Evan's.
apartment.
Uh, hmm.
Mm-hmm.
How about right here?
Okay.
I think that will be fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Sam?
All right, Sam.
Yep. All right.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate your understanding. And Sam said, "No, Jack, I will not allow you to put an apartment." Which isn't entirely true. There's still another apartment space available,
Of
depending on what
course.
Brandon does. Oh, that's a good spot, though, Sam.
How did Sam place a park? Oh, you stopped on the card.
Mm-hmm.
Was the
Gotcha.
card spot available since we're not playing with the cards?
The card spot is available because it's a 4-player game.
Okay.
So the card spot's always available. The 2 victory point spots only available in the 4-player. But yeah, both spots are available.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's see. How is this scoring? Okay. How about we just...
But we are getting close to the end of the game here.
Yeah. Gotta place retail for sure. Gotta place it next to everything I can. How about right there? Yeah. Yeah, that'll work.
And that is next to an office, so you get 3 victory points right
Yep.
now.
Exactly.
And now it's industrial and office
Cool.
for Brandon's turn.
Okay. I know what I want to do. But I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the. I don't know. Maybe it is.
You want to place another bank, don't you?
No, I'm gonna do this.
He's out of banks. All his banks are in play.
Stacking that. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was looking at
you go.
Levi's or at Sam's. Okay.
Basically doubling down on the banks. And
Yeah.
Yeah, not a bad thing to double down on, Brandon.
You definitely locked down the 3 points for the tallest office.
Well, and just considering placement of everything around my banks
Uh-huh.
and whatnot, I feel like that might be a good strategy.
Looks pretty good.
Not gonna get points anywhere else though.
You've definitely put all your eggs in one basket, proverbially.
We'll see how that works out for me.
Yeah. So Sam, you can only pass if you don't
Yeah.
have a legal move. So you're gonna have to play either an apartment, an office, or a bank or a retail.
Yeah.
Nice.
I should have placed that somewhere else.
It's still your turn. Evan hasn't gone yet.
Okay.
All right, Evan.
I took some screenshots that I'll post. I'll send to you, Evan, so you can post when you post the stream to help with explaining the game, or maybe it can be cut in. I'm not sure. But
I can come back and do it again another night too. My schedule's not that busy that I can't come back again. If you guys will have me.
oh, of course. Okay, let's see. Evan's place in the bank. So, Levi, this puts me in an interesting position here. I could move forward and place another retail, but I can't because I don't have any retail.
So you have to pass, which immediately ends the game.
That ends the game. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't have a legal move you could take.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're here, you don't have a legal move to take.
Yeah.
So that just ends the game instantly.
Okay, great.
So now we move into the end game scoring. So we start with the apartments. So we're gonna look at each apartment, and then each player is gonna look at their board and know what that scores. So we're gonna start at the top left and work our way down. So this apartment, Sam,
Mm-hmm.
how many points is that apartment worth to you?
That's 2.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move your score up 2 for that one. And then your next apartment, and then the next apartment we come to is Evans here.
Is it?
Oh wait,
is that worth
3,
2?
right?
I think
I should have been
3, right?
2 for each park.
It's 2 for each park, plus 1 for retail.
So
that should have been
3
retail,
points.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't double checking you. I was just trusting you.
Yeah.
Never
Evan right
trust
here.
Sam.
Don't trust me when I'm naming scores.
So Evan, this one will get him 1 for a retail and 2 for each park.
And -1 for the factory.
And -1 for the industrial.
Yeah.
So basically that one is worth 1 point. And then this one's worth 1, 2, 3. -1. So 2 for that one.
Isn't it worth 4 points?
That's what I was thinking too.
Because he has 2 retail and then he's next to a park but has 3 apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's worth
That's probably
3,
what Evan was saying as he was waving his hand around.
So 4 -1 for 3, 3 for that one apartment.
For this one, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So did you already score your points for this one, Evan?
It was 1 point, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then 3 more points for this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the next apartment anybody has is again Evan. Here.
So
2, 3, -1.
Yep. So 2 points for this one. And the next one is Sam's.
3.
3, no negative.
yeah.
And then this one is Sam's.
Which is worth 4 points.
Which is worth 4 points.
Interesting. Okay, Brandon and I both have no apartments, which makes our scoring very easy here.
Yes. Then we'll score banks next. So again, starting in the top. The first bank we get to, all the way down here, is Sam's. Sam, what do your bank score on?
Total of 2 for a or 2 for an office, so just 2.
Okay, so 2 points for that one. All right, and then Evan's bank here. Evan's bank is scoring on offices, and no offices were built near it.
So that's
So unfortunately,
0.
that one's worth 0. Now Brandon, big bank Brandon over here. Brandon's bank score on offices and apartments.
Wow.
So he's getting 2, 4, 6, 8 for that one. And then 2 more here. So that's 10 total points for this bank.
He's got a...
Oh, 11, because there's an apartment there too. Yeah, you're right.
Wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
11
11.
for that bank.
Big bank bonus, Brandon.
And then on this bank, he's getting 10 more for this bank. And 8, 9, 10, 8, 9 more for this one. And then Sam is getting 11 points for this one. 8, 10, 11 points for this one.
So far, accounting has been easy for me.
Now we're on to the industrial buildings. You're going to score on this, Jack.
Okay, finally. Yeah. Okay, so
Your industrial, you get 1 victory point for being at the edge.
Yes.
So you got a point for that one.
Sweet.
Brandon gets a point for this one.
Sam.
Oh, sorry. Sam gets a point for this
Now,
one.
is that 1 point or 2 points? Does this require them both to be at the edge, or 2 to be
No,
used?
you're right. You get 2 points. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, this
Awesome.
one's worth 2 points because
Okay.
you unlock 2, so you get the plus of the extra scoring point for that.
Makes sense.
Evans Industrial is not scoring anything. And that's it, right? That's all the industrial buildings.
I think so.
I didn't have any,
Right.
so
Now we're scoring offices. So the offices are they score based on how many you have in play.
So once again, I get 1 point here, right? Because
So here you are just looking at your board. Yeah. So Jack, yeah, you're going to get 1 point if you have one in play and you don't have the tallest one.
Mhm.
You'll get 1 point for that. Whereas Brandon will get 6 points for the 4 he has in play, plus 3 for having the tallest.
So
so
9.
it's not. These points here are not cumulative the way that the other ones are.
Yes, they sure are. I'm sorry. It's not 6 points. It's 3, 6, 12 points plus 3 for the tallest.
So 15.
Yep. 15 total points.
My goodness. It's a
Okay.
bloodbath.
I'm only at 47, Jack. You can catch up.
Okay.
All right, so now we're looking at the retail buildings. So the first one here is Brandon's retail. What is your retail score on, Brandon?
Retail. 1 victory point next to apartments.
All right. So you've got 2 apartments next to you. So that's 2 victory points for that retail. Sam, what are your retail score on?
Same.
So you got 2 points for that one?
So now
Jack?
mine, I score for every building around me, as long
Around
as they're
retail.
not, as long as they're not industrial buildings, right?
Nice. So this one then scores you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points.
Go ahead, Evan.
Does
doesn't
it
score for the
include?
transportation.
Can you guys hear Evan?
I just did
Hello.
for a moment.
Hey, Evan.
Or is it going to repeat everybody's voice?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Is it doubling everybody's voice?
No.
No.
Oh, well.
Oh, well, we should have done this a long time ago. Perfect.
Levi, could you? So I get 1 victory point for this retail next to every apartment. So that's 2 victory points. Is that right?
For Jack, that's what your scoring is one for.
Well, I was doing I was on the phone with Evan, so I didn't catch my scoring.
Sorry about that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon.
No, you're totally fine. It's just I just want to make sure that it's 2 points here.
-1 for the industrial.
Okay, so 1 point. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, and
then
then
Jack, you got your points for this, right?
5 points, right? Because it's the 2 apartments, then the business, and the 2 banks. Because the transportation doesn't count, right?
Transportation is not. So it's not every building.
Okay, yeah.
Almost every building.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then next retail is mine.
Yep.
So 1, 2, 3, 4 there.
Yep. And you've got one more down here.
And one more for 2. Plus, these all count, right? So 4, 5, 6.
Yes, you get 6 for that. Correct.
Okay. Right.
All right. And then the last one we're scoring for is the transportation.
Okay.
So up here, Jack, if you got both yours
points.
out, you're scoring on every type of building except transportation. So it's 2 for that one.
Uh-huh.
Sam, did you get both of yours out?
Yeah.
So he's got 3.
So yeah, that one's worth 3. And then this one's worth 4, 5.
And then I had one out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
I think that's all of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the final score for the game.
Wow. Look at Evan.
Yeah.
11 points.
He was pretty distracted though.
I don't know how much attention Evan was able to actually put in the game. There's a lot going on there. So, first impressions. Is it something that you, as you're done, as you finish the game, is it something you're thinking, I know what I would do different next time? Or is it, this is a chaotic mess and I don't even want to try it again?
I would literally try to do the exact same thing next time.
I don't blame you, Brandon.
I think looking at all the scoring, I can't see a way to score more points. I think the banks playing off of all of those offices and then the offices scoring cumulative for how many are out there, that combination is just incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It does present this interesting dynamic because going back to it, the thing that I would try is definitely try to interrupt Brandon's possible combination there, which is a tactic that I took from the very beginning. My starting approach was actually to try to disrupt other people's placement instead of trying to build up my own placement. That's why I went for that factory or went for that industrial right next to the apartment. And so I'm not concerned about if I play this again with Brandon doing it again, because I know look out for that kind of thing now, and try to fill up or take advantage of those spots.
Yeah.
I really love the simplicity. I would definitely play it again. And I think it was interesting later on. I kind of caught on to how important it is to actually jump further ahead sometimes than just taking that slower pace.
Yeah, you mentioned Tokaido and Namiji. And I think in Tokaido particularly, more than Namiji even, taking just the next open space is almost always the smartest move. I think that Sam's right. That's not the case here. That just taking the next open space isn't always the smartest move. And definitely, if you see somebody building a stack of offices, I want to put my banks next to those offices.
Yeah.
right, before they can.
Yeah.
Ideally. And because you're taking turns, and last person next. Ideally, when you have players who played it, are a little more savvy about it, it makes it a lot harder to get that super combo of the office and bank all to yourself. And at some point, you start asking yourself, like, am I going to keep building offices there to give them more points for those banks, right? And so when you can line it all up, yeah, it's worth a ton of points. But then you have to start thinking, like, do I want to give points to my opponents by doing this, right? Because I think now that everybody's seen that, nobody's going to just let that happen again. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, Evan, I think we're hearing some feedback, some squeaking. I don't know if that's you talking or it's just feedback.
You guys are getting some feedback?
Yeah, I am. The YouTube channel is also. But I'm not trying to invalidate your experience, Brandon. I understand what you're saying. Like, I'm going to do what I did. What I did worked really well. I'm going to do that again. I would just be
I
surprised if that was
100% could.
an option.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Next time, with all of us having played again, I can see how this 95%, probably would not work out in my favor again. I definitely chalk up this amount of points in this strategy to all of us having played for the first time. And I don't think that it would work out this way in future plays. At least I wouldn't think so. I mean, it is all dependent on what spaces you take, but and maybe I could be a little bit more deceptive about what I'm doing and not so obvious. But
Yeah.
I think eventually people would catch on.
Yeah. So I can say, Evan, can you hear and like can you speak in still?
I can hear through my phone. I can't hear through Lightstream anymore.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We
I
can
just
hear
wanted to
you
make
talking.
sure you could give your
Fixed
feedback.
for now.
Yeah, I would say my first impression, Levi, is looking at this game. I love the gameplay. I really like the core loop. I like the moving the pawn, place a building. It's very simple. I like that simple, but I like that's also strategic where you can get placed out. You've got that worker placement thing going on where you can just get placed out or whatever. I also like that it moves relatively quickly. And when everybody's getting it, you're kind of like moving through and along the board really nicely. I like the multiple tracks, how you have various options there for double placement. I like the parks. I really like the potential of the city founder cards. I like the political campaigns. So you got some great side scoring opportunities there. My biggest con would be, or my biggest like area of constructive feedback would be around scoring, because my biggest focus was on variety. I was just trying to place as many buildings as I could out there and work on these two scoring mechanisms, which are retail and transportation, both of which score based on the variety of buildings around them. And I was just looking at the scoring card thinking, there's an opportunity to stack victory points, and Brandon took that. And I thought maybe there's an opportunity to spread victory points and those would match, but they're not even close. Because I think I did pretty well optimizing those, variety opportunities given the placement on the board. And I was still like halfway to where Brandon was at the end of the game. So I just didn't see any viable alternative to stacking office buildings as it currently stands. And the only viable alternative I see is to interrupt his stacking or to disrupt another player where, So that was just my take on the scoring.
No, thank you.
One thing that I had with the stacking that I'd written down, one thing that I think could alter the score of the stacking or maybe limit the stacking is to maybe put a limit on how many pieces can be stacked. But then there's also I know you're not allowed to stack offices on top of each other on other players' offices, but what if other players could stack one of their apartments on top of somebody else's office to stop them from playing offices again in the future? Um, Now it would basically render that particular office useless, but in terms of scoring points, but it would also stop the opponent from placing more offices on top of one another. I think
Sure.
that could be something that could be interesting. Um, and I don't think, I mean, that stack would still score. So if someone placed I have 2 or 3 here, and someone dropped an office on here, I would still have a stack of 3, and that apartment would be useless. But it would also stop me from placing this fourth office on that stack. Um, that's something that could be viable, I think.
Or
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, at least. Yeah.
or the other option is to spread out that same, or to utilize the same sort of scoring mechanism for every place on the board. So, you get, instead of just being, 1 point for this, 1 point for that, it's always +1, +2, something like that, like more of a either standardized scoring mechanism where it's like you're always adding victory points the more you put on the board, or um, you're always, progressively gaining more victory points the more that you're adding. So that could also be something that could help streamline the scoring, make it easier to count
Yeah.
when it comes to the end game. But I get too that you want to have multiple goals, so you're trying to do something that's diverse, where like this building does something specific, this building does something else, and so you are playing up that asymmetrical part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just
That's one thing that I actually really liked was the diversity and how many different ways that you could score. That's something that I always think is interesting and really adds to gameplay for me. Being able to have I don't know, 10 or 15 or however many decisions a player can make on any given turn. I understand that can cause problems for some people, but that's something that I particularly enjoy.
yeah.
Knowing that I can do a number of things and still score points. That's another thing that I wrote down was, as the game progresses, the spots on the board get more limited. Yet I also at the same time felt like I had more decisions that I could make. So it was kind of an interesting dynamic there. The fuller the board is, the more choices I have, and that's one thing that I particularly enjoyed with this game.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things I'm going for with the design is that initially it seems like the world is your burrito at the beginning, right? Like you can
Yeah.
the whole board is open and you can choose any building you want to build and you can place it anywhere near the city hall, right? And then as you play, the choices dwindle and the options where you place them dwindle, and your scoring opportunities are determined by not only your prior choices but the choices of the other players at the table. So it's less multiplayer solitaire because the other players, you really have to pay attention on everybody's turns because their plays matter so much on what
Yes.
you might be able to score.
Yeah, and that was one of the goals that you mentioned at the outset of the game
Yeah.
when we were testing, was you mentioned replayability several times. And
Yeah.
it's a very interesting game in that respect, in that, when I play with different people, people will make different decisions. The board will play out differently, the various different objective cards. That creates a really nice multiple play experience where you could pull this game out and say, let's see what happens this time.
Right.
I think you do have something really, really good going in that regard with this game, in that sense, the scarcity of space and multiple objectives.
One more thing about points, while we're talking about points, I did find the very end problematic in that Jack basically had a wasted turn. One way that I think that could be eliminated is, now borrowing this from Nimiji specifically. I don't know if Takaido does this or not, but maybe the first person who ends gets bonus points, and however many whatever space players end on, they get points for that. So while I went ahead and took this last office building, by doing that, I'm also going to finish last, which means I get less points for that. It's I think that could be an interesting way of maybe
So if I got
exactly.
4 points, that would have bumped me up to 38, and then Sam gets 3 points.
I think it makes the ending
if you had gone here, right?
44. Yeah. Evan would move up 2, and Brandon would have moved up 1 point. So 4, 3, 2, 1.
It makes the ending feel less brutal if you don't actually get to take a final turn like Jack wasn't able to. Kind of, I guess to me it would be like, well, I don't really get to place a building, but at least I get more points than everyone else.
Yeah, I like it.
One note, just kind of about not necessarily like the graphic design, but like the placement of these. Whoever's going first should probably be in this space, and whoever's going last should probably be in this space. And right now it's backwards from that. So in the beginning of the game, the number 1 spot was going first, and in this spot was going last. So maybe just flipping those so that it makes sense graphically who's going first, and does that make sense?
No, because the player who's here is going first.
Yeah, I think the player who's going first should be here.
But the rest of the game, the player who's in the last spot goes next.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I was okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I was thinking.
Okay. Yeah, because the idea is like, okay, you start like this, right?
Yeah.
And then this player goes.
Yeah.
And then the player that's in the back goes. The player that's in the back goes.
Yeah. No, yeah. I guess I don't know what I was thinking. I had the thought and I wrote it down, but maybe I was just messing things up in my head.
No worries. I mean, none of us have ever made a mistake, Brandon. So it's fine.
I'm the first one. Of course, I'm the first one.
I've never made a mistake.
I thought I did once, but I was mistaken.
Anyway. And then,
Sam. No, that's all great. Any more? Go ahead, keep going.
Sam,
so one of the things that I'm kind of noticing here, and just thinking about this victory point balance between between the different strategies that you have there.
Sure.
I'm just looking at something I didn't notice until about halfway through the game was the scarcity of our actual resources because of the spaces that we're actually moving to.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like not only is the one strategy that works kind of, I can't say the word right now, exponentially, not exponentially, multiplicative. Yeah, just can't say it.
Yeah.
Of doing banks and offices. That one strategy seems to have the most actual resources behind it as well, as far as spaces available to them. With you having, in a 4-player game at least, both 6 bank spaces and 6 office spaces to be able to put out all of those resources. Whereas other strategies that actually score less points because they're additive, you even have less opportunities to put ones out. Leaning into industrial, for instance, possibly the easiest strategy, and really, I think if a non-gamer was to approach this game as a gateway game, that's the easiest scoring points they would see, right? Would be the industrial. And halfway through the game, they have no more opportunities to take that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think you're saying you think the industrial is one that a new player would be drawn toward.
It seems like that to me because that's the most straightforward points.
Gotcha.
When you look at it, and like honestly, if I looked at this sheet, I'd like to see the geometrics of the sheet lined up, but also because that is such an easy scoring system right there at the top for new players to see that strategy. But because of that, they're also cut out from all those victory points very early on. And first one can't score. Second one maybe be able to score. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that kind of feels a little weird to me for the actual scoring of the points is when you can acquire those resources.
So this
I guess
helps.
what I'm saying.
So
Okay.
the City Founders cards helps with that
Okay.
because these are cards you can take that then become spaces you can use even if those aren't available.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't use them.
I differed from Sam a little bit in what I thought was going to be the most easiest route to go at the beginning. I was looking at the industrial, and I was thinking to myself, okay, if I go here, I have to play at least one more industrial space in order to move this one to the outside.
Right.
So I was thinking, I'm just not going to do that. And instead, I looked at this board and I saw, oh, even just by taking this office off of this board here, I get points for that. So I chose to go that route because in my mind, just getting those off my player mat and onto the board, I was getting points for that, and I didn't have to make any additional moves in order to score for other buildings. Like a built-in scoring for the offices, which also makes me think that maybe offices are scoring a little bit too high. I do wonder if somebody gets all their offices out like I did, and they're getting these 12 points. Have you done much comparing between all the other buildings to see what the max points would be for all the other buildings as well?
Yeah, if you maximize the points for each building, they're pretty similar.
Okay.
And then the thing is, because like you were saying, you can get, well, yeah, they're all pretty similar. If you go through and you add up all the points you could get if you maxed out each one.
What's the max? So what's the max for industrial? The most you could get is 6 points, isn't it? So if you had all three on an edge, you would get you get 3 points each. So you would get 9 points for these three buildings.
No, you'd get 4 points each. 1, 2, 4. So yeah, so that would be 12 points for your industrial buildings.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you would get.
Yeah, that would be 12. If you
If
place
you had
all
all
four offices, that's worth 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I was thinking with the industrial is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Levi.
No, go ahead.
One thing I was thinking with the industrial is I wondered. I understand scoring on the outside edge, but what if the points scaled if someone placed it here? What if the outside is 4, but you place it one, an adjacent space going inward closer to City Hall? What if you scored maybe 3 points for that or 2 points for that? And then as you get closer to City Hall, that score kind of scaled up or down.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I think it probably is a little simpler that way. If it's distance from City Hall.
Yeah, just an idea, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you could go either way with it. I think this way is a little more consistent with the other types of buildings.
Yeah.
The way other buildings score. But I see what you're saying. That you could arrange it so that it's however far away it is from City Hall.
I do think. Jack, were you going to go or Sam?
No, I was just about to ask if Evan had any feedback.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't even know if you guys can hear me anymore.
We hear you right now.
Yeah.
Do you? Oh, okay. Well, I wish I could tell you that I really got the game and was able to figure out what the heck was going on. But mostly I was just being annoyed and trying to make it somewhat visible on the live stream. So I didn't really get to see much of the actual workings of the game. Like, I like the basic idea of what's going on, but I can't really give any good feedback, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I figured with 13 points, you really must have understood it well. Your dominant performance.
I was like, I'll put this thing here. I'll put this thing here.
No, I think we all understand. You know, we've all dealt with technical difficulties, and I think we all understand what you were struggling with. So no problem at all. Like I said, if you guys are interested, I'm happy to come back and do it again, and then that way you can.
Yeah, man, I would love to try again and not mess it up next time.
And it's one of those things where it doesn't have to be for the stream. I'd be happy to just meet up with you guys and do this whenever.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I think the thing is, it's hard to say. This is always the struggle I have when I play test other people's games, and I play test some of Evan's games. It's hard to say from a single play of a game how what it is you liked or didn't like, or what's really important, what's not from a single play. I think the most important feedback that you can give when I try to give when I'm playtesting is like, did I have fun? Would I play it again? Was there something interesting here? Is there something worth continuing on, or you're kind of spinning your wheels and this really isn't worth your time, kind of thing? Because I hate to watch a designer just spin their wheels on a design for years and years and not really be able to have anything move forward.
Yeah.
So I think those are the things that's really honestly all the things you guys are saying. I've written down several notes, but the most important things I'm listening for are, while you're playing it, or did you seem like you were having fun? Were you making strategic decisions? Were you, was it engaging? And then after the fact, would you play it again? Would you make different choices? The fact that you're able to speak intelligently about the scoring system and offer alternatives for the scoring means you're invested in that mechanism, right? So it's like sometimes it's about
Totally
what you're going to take from the feedback as much as what you're going to give.
Yes. Yeah, that's spot on, Levi. I mean, that you're absolutely right. The thing that people often give feedback on is the thing. It's usually because they had a great time, and this is the thing they want, that they would like. One of the questions I often ask when I play with non-designers is, if you had a magic wand, what would you do to this design? What would you change? And that gives you a sense of like, okay, this was the sticky point for this player. Like, this is the thing that would hold them up from playing this game again, or this is the thing they would, like to see, that would get them for sure playing again.
Yeah, the last thing I want to see when I'm demoing a game is somebody just go, "Okay, thanks," and then leave like at the end of the game. Clearly, that did not, grab them in any way. They're on to the next thing.
Yeah, they go, "Oh no, no feedback."
Yeah, you have any feedback? No, not really. Okay, thanks. The other one that gets me is where people will go like, I hate the graphic design. Like, yeah, I'm not a graphic designer. This is just a prototype. I don't like the theme. There's not really a theme on it.
Yeah,
it's
the
just,
game literally doesn't have a name. So.
Yeah, which is and I appreciate what they're trying to do, right? But it's those things where you have to say, okay, how much of this feedback is? Sometimes people are giving feedback as they're processing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've gotten feedback over the years where it's like, oh, like I think maybe if you did this, then that would work. And what they don't know is you're on the 8th, 12th, 15th iteration of this game, and you did that 3 iterations ago and found that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And and they don't see all the iterations you made up until now.
Yes.
So a lot of times you just have to go, yeah, you know what? Thank you. And kind of move on, because you can't explain that. You can't go, oh, we tried that, and here's why that doesn't work, or that conflicted with this other thing. one of the most consistent feedback I give when I'm, and I've told Evan this every time I've played one of his games, like, look, man, you know this game better than I do. You know this game better than I do. There's nothing I'm going to tell you that's going to be a light bulb moment for you.
Yeah.
So, here was my impression. This is what I found was fun. This is what I felt was a sticking point or a pain point. And in this game, I can tell you, you guys have hit on some things that have been consistent pain points. And the end game scoring is that consistent pain point. Because, like we talked about at the beginning of this stream, you've got this game, you get into it, the world is your burrito, you're moving up, everything's going great, right? And then the game ends, and now we're going to do accounting.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And that is the thing I can't get around. I've added some things like the political campaigns were not in the original game, right? So you had the political campaigns to give you some mid-game scoring. The city ordinances are added to give you some replayability. The city founders cards were added to make the limited options not such a pain point, where you can store spaces for later use.
While you do say that, one thing I liked, and then sorry, Brandon,
No, you're
don't
good.
mean to, but one thing I liked is that we were kind of scoring by committee. Like we went through the whole board and we're like, let's score this, rather than being like, okay, we all have our scorecards. Write down your thing and let's compare a number. Yeah. I like that it was kind of like, okay, well, let's take it building by building. Let's talk about it.
And honestly, that's something I've learned from playtesting the game. Yeah. It's like, this is the way to score this game, is to go building by building and then
it makes
top
sense.
To bottom, left to right, and go through it.
Yeah.
But I don't imagine every group that sat down to play it would score it that way.
Right? Yeah, it'd just be, yeah. What were you going to say, Brandon?
Yeah, with the accounting at the end, I don't think it's something you need to get away from. I think it's fine. And honestly, scoring the way that we did by committee, going one row by row, column by column, I think that's perfectly fine. There's another game that my wife and I play all the time. It's Kohaku, and when we score, we go. She'll count up her points, and I'll move the point tracker, and we score each other's boards at the same time. And I think that's perfectly fine. I think one of the best things about this game is the player interaction that you get between placing buildings, and I think scoring like that, it just puts a cap on that for me. What was I was just going to say something. Going back to your original question of, is it fun? Is it worth your time or whatnot? I think this game is something that would be totally right up my alley. It reminds me of games, like Kohaku and like Era, and these games that are just really super fun to me. I love I love how you move around the board. It has a built-in catch-up mechanism, which I think is super important. I love placing things onto a board and seeing things grow and expand. Obviously, in my head, I can just envision this game as something like, like Foundations of Rome, which is these epic pieces, and you're building this thing, and it just turns into this big, huge city that you both have worked on together. And for me, that's something that I look for. I look for in a game more than anything is, can I have fun while still competing against the other person in a way that we're not necessarily working together, but honestly, we're kind of working together in a way.
Right.
And I like that a lot. So I think in its final form, this is definitely a game that I could see myself picking up and playing again in the future.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Those are some high praise games to compare it against. So thank you.
Well, I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. So
yeah.
Fantastic. Sam, did you have any more thoughts?
Not really. I really did enjoy playing the game. I've come to appreciate recently that abstract games are actually my favorite games, abstract strategy. And weirdly, it felt like I had some of that in the way that I was approaching the board. So I did appreciate that, which I wasn't expecting. Um, the one thing that feels just a little off with me is it's hard to tell how someone is doing in the game while the game's
Yes.
going on. And I have you tried doing the game with some sort of during game scoring other than
Well,
these small portions?
yeah. So I have actually. It's interesting you asked that, and it's a really
Okay.
good question, Sam, because that the obvious. I think the obvious solution to people saying, "Oh, I don't really know if I care for the end game scoring," is to do more mid game scoring. The issue with that is as you place, like when you place this apartment,
Hmm.
right, you're only going to score what that apartment's worth in that moment.
Right.
And so what
Okay.
that does is it makes it less satisfying to play that piece now because you know that if you were scoring it at the end of the game, it would be worth so many more points,
Hmm.
right? Or it potentially could be worth so many more points. What it also does is it removes that strategic thinking about, well, if I place this here, now I'm either if I place a bank here, right? I'm either encouraging or discouraging people from building their offices nearby,
Hmm.
right? And so it takes away that strategic
Yeah,
like placement against the other players. And
absolutely.
so I yes, the answer to your question is yes. We've thought about it,
Hmm.
and we've tried it, and that's where we keep running into. Bob, thanks so much for stopping by. That's where we keep running into is you know is that it's if you score in the middle, it really sucks all the strategic
Yeah.
fun out of the game,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right? Because of
Hmm.
the way that it scores. Being able to score those little bonus points, I think that was the good compromise that
Okay.
we came to was the political campaigns.
yeah,
It
Okay.
was like here's just a quick way to score a few points
sure.
along the way
Mhm.
that doesn't disrupt your end game strategy or steal points from the end game. It gives you bonus points in the mid game,
Yeah,
Hmm.
and
I yeah.
that was kind of our that's been the I say our because like I said I've played this game a lot with some
yeah,
specific people, so I don't as much as I designed the game like they've put a lot of a ton of time into it too. So
Hmm.
I feel like I say they that's what I mean like the other people I played it with.
yeah.
Uh, I think that's been a thing where uh, it's definitely something that has come up. I wanted you guys mentioned what the game, Brandon in particular mentioned what the game could look like. I actually do 3D modeling on the side, and so I
Cool.
made actual 3D models for all these buildings at one point
Fancy.
to do in
We need
plastic.
we need to be playing with those like right away.
uh, it's one of those things where I had the plastics and people I got some players that thought it was distracting,
Mm,
uh, and they liked
yeah.
the little wood cut pieces better.
Oh,
I'm good either way. I think the
yeah.
game.
It's
I think
super cool. I mean, games like
Hmm.
this, it's so fun to have the little pieces and build your build your things. I mean, uh, I have a friend I playtest with a lot. He's a big fidgeter. So the more things I can give him to just, he would be stacking the buildings on the side and building his little city by his score sheet while we're playing.
I think as long as the icons match to the buildings, what they look like, I don't think there would be any issue at all.
yeah, ideally I would want to like screen print the wooden pieces the way that I made the icons on the board
Yeah.
so they would match up.
So,
Like that red piece is the retail building that I made.
So Levi, I have a question for our stream. You know, playtest this. A lot of the viewers here are going to be, first time designers or young designers or
Yeah,
something like that. People who are getting into playtesting, probably. A lot of folks from like the board game design lab community and such. One of the questions I see very frequently that people bring up is like what to do with feedback. How do you filter it? As an experienced designer who has run lots of playtests, what are some tips or strategies you use in filtering your feedback? So we've just given you a lot of things. What are you going to do to comb through that, or how do you decide what to act on and what to maybe set aside? Or
Yeah. I think the most important thing I can say is try not to get into arguments with your playtesters. I see a lot of young designers do this.
Yeah.
Or not say young, a lot of new designers that will do this, where they will take their game to a Playtest Northwest event or a playtesting event or Unpub or something, and they'll get feedback, and then they will spend 20 minutes arguing with that playtester about that feedback. Don't do it. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste their time on that, because you're not going to really get to a satisfying result with that. They have their opinion based on literally one play of the game. You have a thing you have invested dozens, hundreds of hours in, right? Nobody's ever going to understand the push and pull, all the levers of the game the way you do, right? So don't argue with them. Listen to what they have to say. Focus on the key things. Matt Riddle, I believe, said, your game is going to get played more times the first day it gets released, like when it gets published, than you could ever have played it in playtesting. Like I personally logged over 300 playtests of Horizons, right? Yeah. Personally logged over 300 playtests of Horizons, and then we sold 10,000 copies of it.
Yeah,
right. Like you are never going to be able to play it as many times as it's going to get played the first day it gets released.
Yep.
So when you're playtesting, don't get lost in the weeds, I think is really the thing I'm getting at. Is like don't get down into the needling minutia of I don't like the way banks score.
Sure.
Okay. Like I hear you, right? I hear what you're saying. What bothers me? Learn to ask qualifying questions. Well,
Sure.
What didn't you like about it? Right? Well, I don't like that. I didn't like that. But we only had one bank, it scored this. But if I got two banks, it scored this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I felt like it gave this other player an unfair advantage. Okay. So if you played again, do you think maybe you would take more bank spaces? Oh, I would take all the bank spaces if I could. Do you think they would let you do that? No, I don't think they would. Okay. Right? Like, and so you kind of have to hear what they're saying, validate what they're saying, because they are giving you something valuable, right? Mm-hmm. Their time, their attention, their feedback, it is valuable. And don't get me wrong, there have been times where I've done a playtest of a game, especially early on in the development process or in the playtesting process, where someone has said something that completely changed my thought process on a game.
Yeah.
I had a little simple card game I was playing at Unpub, and I was really like having a hard time figuring out the end game for it. And somebody just casually said, well, what if the end game scored backward from the way it scores now?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah. That
That's
solves that problem.
Yeah.
Right? And I would never have gotten there. Right?
Yeah.
But they said that one thing is an offhand comment. What if they just this crazy idea? What if it scored backward?
Yeah.
Yeah. That works. And then it fixed that game. And I was like, I need your name so I could credit you in the, that fixed it. So that can happen. So I don't want to sound like I'm saying don't listen to feedback, because you absolutely should. But don't get lost in the weeds. Don't get lost in the minutia of it. Now, when you're playing with other designers, it's a little different, because other designers already kind of know that. And they're going to, other designers are going to say, I see what you're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe there's a better way to do it. I don't necessarily know what it is, but I think there's a better way to do it, or a more fun way to do it, or a more engaging way to do it than the way you're doing it now. Mm-hmm. They'll also do the thing Brandon just did a lot of, and I tend to do this, is I say, oh, have you played X game? Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you haven't, you should. Because you might learn something about the game you're trying to design.
Yes.
Right? I think the biggest thing we can do as designers to arm ourselves is play as many games as possible.
Yeah.
Play every published game you can get your hands on. Play every prototype you can get your hands on.
Right.
Because the more
Yeah.
games you play, the more tools in your toolkit, the more of those kinds of things you're going to have. There's nothing in this game that is created out of whole cloth that we just played.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can look at every mechanism in the game we just played and tie it back to some other game you've played before.
Yeah.
And that's not an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel here. I want it to be familiar to you in a certain way, but I want it to be novel.
Yeah.
Right? So can it be familiar? Can you go, oh, I get this because I've played Najimi, or I've played other worker placement games, or I've played these games that score based on adjacency. I know what that is, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it put together in this particular configuration before.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And then like the three things I for a half a minute I almost named my board game company 3i Entertainment, because it was like, I always say this, like I think there's 3 I's. You want things to be immersive, you want them to be innovative, and you want them to be a third eye that I can't remember right now. No, you want them to be you want them to be innovative, immersive, and intuitive. And if you can hit those 3 things, I think you're on track of something, right? If players are invested in what they're doing, if they're immersed in the game while they're playing it, if they are doing something that feels intuitive, I've done this kind of thing before, I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing, and it's something that is innovative, that maybe they haven't seen it this way before. That's what I'm always aiming for, is those 3 things.
Yeah.
So I don't always hit that mark far and away. I have 3 board games with my name on them, right, that I've published over 10 years, right? Have I done other spec work for other people? Yes, but overall, even if you add all that in, it's less than 10 total games that have been published in 10 years, right? So it's like it's a lot of work, and there are. Matt was saying earlier, he's like, "Oh, I haven't seen this game in a minute," because the last time I pulled this game out was months ago.
Yeah.
Was not this calendar year. It was back, November,
Sure.
October of last year. Was the last
21.
time
Yeah.
this game got on the table.
Nice.
So I mean, you can have a game that that you can feel like, well, I'm pretty much done working on this, that you can't necessarily sell.
Yeah.
It'll sit there until maybe you find somebody you can sell it to.
Yeah.
Or you decide to self-publish. It's easier than ever to do.
Mm.
I don't know if I answered your question, Jack. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. That was great. That was great. I
I have
mean,
a tendency to ramble.
Yeah, no, thanks for that's really good. It gives us some filters. I really like the point that you made about I know Evan would say this because he often does, but you only get one chance to make a first impression with your game. So you're always looking for that first impression. Like, what is the impression that this playtester is getting, right? But you also have to consider the fact that it is just one impression. You've seen 300. The first day it comes out, like you said, there will be 10,000, right?
Yeah.
So you always have to consider that, but then there is the taking it with a grain of salt. And I think the thing that you said that I really liked was like just asking that clarifying question. Like, okay, what do you mean? Right? Like, oh, I don't like this thing. Like, well, what is that? And as designers, it's something for us to push into, is say, like, if I'm going to offer a problem, I should offer a solution, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I anticipate a problem, what's the solution? Have a solution mindset.
I would say, honestly, like, you have to be careful with that too. And I understand where you're coming from on that, but I just want to clarify on that, because I've had that conversation too.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I will stop short of offering my solution to the problem and say, it wasn't, this part of the game was kind of painful.
Sure.
This wasn't very fun, or this part drug on longer than it felt like it needed to. Mm-hmm. And then when they say, well, if somebody asks me, what could I do about it? So, well, you're the designer, you know the game better than I do. I'm just trying to give you a place to put your time and effort into. And then if they persist, then I might offer them a potential solution. But honestly,
can I ask your thought process? Can I ask your thought process behind that as to why you wouldn't offer the solution?
Yeah, because they're the designer of the game. Like I don't know the game as well as they do. Like I said earlier, where somebody goes, "Well, have you tried to do this
Mm.
thing?" Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I did try that 5 iterations ago, and it didn't work, and here's why. But you're not
Sure.
going to get into that exchange at a playtest table,
Sure.
and definitely not during a pitch meeting, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then you like pitches are a whole other thing, right?
That's right.
But like, you know, you want to help people, and I think it's a bigger help to a designer to know where the pain points are and what's not working and what is working and what is fun. Because like so many times you're chasing the fun. It's like, okay, what was the most fun part of that game, and what was stopping us from doing more of that? So I want to get rid of the stuff that's stopping me from having more fun.
Yeah.
On that
Yeah.
same token, though, regarding not giving out the solution, I do wonder, or do you wonder, what would have happened if the guy who fixed your reverse scoring problem didn't offer the solution?
Yeah, yeah.
I can definitely see it both ways. I know me designing my first game, I want to soak in as much feedback and potential solutions as possible, and then use my own filter to be like, I've already tried that and that's fine, but I want to take in everything I possibly can because I want to make the best game possible. And if I play test with someone like you who is very experienced, I would take everything that you say, and I would write it down, and I would at least try it because, you know, what do I have to lose by trying it?
Yeah, I completely understand your point, Brandon, and you make a good point about that. You know, the one experience I highlighted earlier. I would say I think I wouldn't offer that if I was playing one of your games. It would have been the other way tonight, and I was playing your game. I wouldn't have started with, "Here's what you should do to fix your game, Brandon."
Oh, of course, yes.
Right. That's kind of what I think I'm getting at.
Okay.
Is a lot of people will start there.
Yes.
Here's how to fix your game. Right?
Yes.
And that's what I think you're helping me clarify my point that you want to avoid that.
That
When
makes
somebody
perfect sense.
asks you, when somebody asks you point blank, well, what do you think I could do to fix that? Answer that question if you have one. If you have one.
That makes
Sometimes
perfect
the answer
sense.
is, I don't know. Let me play it 2 or 3 more times, and maybe I can, figure it out.
Yeah.
I really have a hard time, and this was always my struggle when we were doing Playtest Northwest all the time. I really was a struggle sometimes giving somebody really meaningful feedback from a single play.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I played a game and I really enjoyed it and I wanted to give good feedback, oftentimes I'd say, "Can I play it again? Can we play again?"
Yeah.
You know, before I would give feedback because I wanted to digest it again and see if was that just a misunderstanding on my part or was that a weird interaction, an edge case or one-off. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, you make a really good point, and I appreciate you pointing that out because I wasn't being specific enough.
No, and I totally understand what you're saying. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times when you're playtesting with folks, they'll come out with like, "Oh, you should do this. You should do this. Have you thought about this?" And a lot of times it's just like, "Oh, why are you suggesting that?
Yeah.
What are you trying to fix? What are you trying to fix with that suggestion? Like, what do you think is wrong with the experience?" And then you're kind of cutting to the core of the issue, and then maybe they are right with their suggestion, almost invariably not.
Yeah.
But then at least you know kind of like why they're suggesting it, and then you can figure out how to best fix that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, because there's nobody better suited to fixing that problem than you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think. You can draw on the wisdom of others, but ultimately, it's your design. You're the one who really birthed this into the universe, so you're going to be the best one to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Levi, thank you not only for sharing your game with us, because here's the thing I would say about City Blocks. I would play it again gladly, and we play it again on the stream, play it again with this group.
We definitely need to bring you back and then show it to the audience next time.
Yeah.
But even more so, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you for sharing your experience in playtesting. It's great, very, very helpful for, I think for all of us, for the designers on the stream. So Thanks for
I
being
have to
on.
say, like, when I first got into this hobby professionally, there were a lot of people who welcomed me in and taught me a lot of stuff. Like, so you guys know David McKenzie taught me a ton of stuff. Seth Jaffe was super welcoming when I first came in. TC Petty. There were a lot of people who, when I first got into this, were super. Right out of the gate, the first game I published that I got published was Ruse, and Tom Vassell tore it apart. It is a hard to watch review.
Like he
Tom
does,
Vassell, huh?
like he does.
Oh, he's angry in this review about how bad the game is. Excuse me. And that's hard to hear right out of the gate, obviously.
Yeah.
And I had so many people in the industry reach out to me, and they were like, "Don't listen to him. It's not the game. There's other things going on here that you're not aware of. There was some stuff between Tom and the publisher that I wasn't aware of that was going on. There was other things underlying all that, and it was really his complaint when you get right down to it was more about the way the game was packaged and presented, honestly, more than the game itself. The way it was originally designed, it was meant to be a $10 game that you played very casually. It was a very casual little deck of cards game. The publisher put it in a $45 box with lots of extra bells and whistles, and it wasn't a $45 game. I mean, it just wasn't, And I think if I had spent $45 on it, I might be mad too, Not that Tom spent any money on it, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I get where it,
Well, it's too bad that was reflected in the review.
Yeah, but it was that thing where, a lot of people reached out to me. A lot of people were very kind to me. A lot of people, taught me a lot of things about the industry, and I want to pay that forward as often as I possibly can. And that's why I was involved with Playtest Northwest. That's why I continue to want to do things like this. As soon as I heard Evan was doing this, I volunteered immediately to jump in and help out because I think it's the least I can do is pay that kindness forward. So if you found anything valuable out of my time or any of this, then all I would ask is you pay that forward to somebody else who's just getting into this. And if we and anywhere we can, obviously we want to try and promote people who don't have the kinds of privilege. We talked about earlier, going to conventions is a privilege to be able to have that. I was lucky enough at the time to have the financial and physical capability to do that. A lot of people don't have. Mm-hmm. And so, if we can help elevate those voices that have less opportunities than some of us have, then we should do that too. So, so we're going to help each other out as much as we can. To, high tide raises all ships, right? I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah, man.
We're going to help each other out. So, thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate your time and attention. And sorry I had so many technical issues, but we'll get it nailed down next time.
No, that was me. I'm changing platforms next time. It's going to go amazing. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Well, Levi, I really appreciate it, man. You're amazing, and I love you, and I really appreciate you coming on. And and just like you were saying about those other guys, when I was first in this industry, I was like, oh man, there's this guy who knows what he's doing. He knows the industry, and he's willing to sit here and play my stupid game.
Yeah.
And give me feedback. And it's not a quick game, right? We sat there for 2 hours, and you're like, oh, that's fun. Let's play it again. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So just people like you in this industry really, 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 really make it a good place, man. And so I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those kind words. That's sweet of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Levi. Again, really appreciate your time. Thanks for showing us your game. We're really excited to see it. If anybody wanted to follow along with either your projects or the specific game, what would they do?
Well, this specific game, I don't really have it. I mean, other than it's just kind of in development, just kind of play testing it. But you can. I have a website, LeviMote.com. I have my art projects as well as my board game projects up there. And then, like I said, I've got if you use Kickstarter, and I can understand if you don't, but if you do, we just recently did the 3 Valeria games, and one of those was my Dice Kingdoms game. you can still late back that if you want to get in on that game. Otherwise, they'll be in stores probably around the first of the year. It's a roll and write game. It's got a lot of cascading actions, and when you're the active player, you roll the dice, and everybody gets to do things based on those die rolls. So everybody's invested in every die roll. Again, I didn't reinvent the wheel. Just things I've seen other good roll and write designers do, and then applied that to the Valeria world. But it's really good. I'm really proud of it. It's a good fun game. And so yeah, if you're looking to buy something that I made, there's that. I think Horizons is still in the store at Daily Magic Games. DailyMagicGames.com. They publish Horizons. I think they've still got copies in their store. And always, if you can buy direct from the publisher, that always gives the publisher the most money. Because if you're buying through Amazon, Amazon bought that copy as cheap as they could before they sold it to you. Whereas if you're buying directly from the publisher, you're paying the market price where they paid the production price. So that's going to be the best to support that publisher. So things like that. And then
Nice.
I'm on Twitch, or I mean not Twitch. I'm on Twitter at Levi Mote. I have a weird name, so if you're on social media and you look up Levi Mote, it's probably me. Because it's just
LEVIMOTE.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll drop both those links in the chat too if anybody wants to follow those. But yeah.
Well, thanks. Stay in touch. I'm looking forward to the next time around.
Awesome. Thanks, Levi and Sam, Brandon, Jack. Thanks for basically running it in my absence, Jack.
You're welcome, Evan. Happy to help.
You guys have a good night. Thanks again for all your help.
Guys.
Okay, good night.
See you guys.
Bye.